Hello and welcome to Mustangs Plus Restomod's how-to video. Today we're going to be installing a grab-a-track upper control arm and also showing you the spring perch that may need replacement also. In addition, we're going to put the Zert fittings in, we're going to grease it up, and what we have in front is a variety of tools that will be needed to take the shock absorber out, compress the spring, and take the entire control arm out. And with that, we'll get on with replacing it. Okay, I want to point out a few things here. When we disassemble this, we're going to take out the shock absorber, we're going to loosen these two bolts, we're going to take off the shock cap, so we've got 3 nuts there. And then down here we have the upper control arm nuts that secure the upper control arm to the frame. We're going to loosen those up, and I repeat, we're going to loosen them up, but we will not take them out. We will not take them out because the upper control arm is under load with the coil spring right now. Okay, we're going to continue the overview with taking this upper arm out. We're going to take the shock out, we're going to loosen up the bolts to the upper control arm, we're going to take off the castle nut and cotter pin, and with that we'll be ready to hit it with a nice big hammer, and hopefully we hit it once or twice and it separates from the stud, and upper control arm will come right out. Okay, we're going to start taking the shock absorber assembly apart, and before we do that, we've got all the weight on the wheel on the front end right now. That way when we take out the shock absorber, it'll just expand and come upward, and we take out the shock cap, we'll be able to just take this cap off. The shock will be hanging right there, and then we'll finish up the disassembly on the bottom. Turn the shock, take the hat off, and finally we're going to just loosen the upper control arm nuts down here. Okay, we're going to take off this final nut here from the shock, and we'll be able to pull it right out from the top. Here we go. Shock absorber out. Now we'll proceed with compressing the coil spring. Okay, we're going to start compressing the spring up into the cavity here, and what we've got is we've got a brace here on the shock tower, and as we start turning, it's compressing the spring. Again, we are not taking the spring out of the car. We're going to compress it so that it just comes off the spring perch, and that will allow us to loosen up and take out these nuts here holding the upper control arm, and we'll be able to slide it right out after we knock out the stud from the spindle. Okay, we're going to take the cotter pin from the castle nut, and with that out, we'll be able to loosen up the castle nut. Okay. Okay, what we want to do is take it all the way down just so you have 1 or 2 threads left, because once we hit it with a hammer, it should just drop right down. Okay, we're going to proceed to hit this spindle to loosen the stud up so that it'll separate from the spindle. It may take 2, may take 3, maybe we'll get lucky, we'll see. Okay, there it is. It's separated. With that, we'll take the castle nut off, and we'll be able to separate and pull out the entire upper control arm. Okay, we've got the nuts loose. We got them both out. As you can see, we've got a pair. Do not lose these, because you will be reusing these on the new grab-a-track upper control arm. Okay, we've got the coil spring compressed into the cavity here. Now we're able to pull out the upper control arm, and we did so cautiously because on 64.5 to 66 you have these alignment shims. On the 67 and up, you will not have shims, so don't worry about it. But on the early cars, 64.5 to 66, you will have shims, and they're there for the purpose of alignment. Try to get them back on the same position on your new upper control arm. If for some reason they fall off or you don't know, just put them even on both studs there, and the alignment shop, when you take it in, will do it the right way. Okay, we've got our new Gravitrack upper control arm and spring perch. You're going to use the old nuts from the other one. You'll get this mounted. Get your nuts, attach them, cinch it down. You'll apply the Zert fittings. You get the Zert fittings in, grease this up. It's always easier to grease it up off the car before installation. Zert fitting there, Zert fitting here in the ball joint, and you'll get them all tightened up. Here are the shims. Make sure the shims go back on the same studs. Those went there. Those went there. We'll be ready to get this thing installed in just a matter of minutes. Okay, we're going to get ready to put this upper control arm in. We've applied the shims to both studs in the same manner in which they came out. We've got the perch on, and what we're going to do is we're going to take the protective boot and we're going to toss that. Then we're going to get the upper control arm. We're going to set it in place, and then we're going to get the stud through the spindle, just like that, and then we'll get the castle nut started. And then what we'll do is we'll go up top side, and what we'll do is we'll get the upper control arm nuts back on, cinch them down, and then lower the spring. Okay, we're on top side again, and what we're going to do is apply the lock washers in the upper control arm nuts. We'll get them all tightened down. That'll secure the upper control arm. And after that, we'll be able to decompress the spring. We're almost done. Okay, we've got the upper arm in. We've got the coil spring somewhat decompressed. You'll note, possibly, and I'll explain, there is a tab right here on the spring perch that always goes towards the engine compartment or the frame of the car. It always goes towards the engine compartment or frame. And the end of the coil spring should pretty much be resting on that tab. And then we'll finish tightening up this upper control arm castle nut. We'll apply the cotter pin, and then we'll go up top side and finish up with decompressing the spring and getting the shock absorber installed. Okay, we're going to finish decompressing the spring here. Get this spring compressor out. Get the plate out. Get our protective rags out. Pull this out. At this point, you want to get your shock absorber, and we're going to get it down so we can get this attached to the spring perch. We're just going to drop it down. Then we're going to go down and get it all tightened up. Okay, we've got the hardware for the shock absorber. We'll get it all installed, get it tightened up. Get the rubber pad, washer. Okay, we're on to our final assembly here. We're going to put on the cap, get it all cinched down, get our shock absorber onto the cap, get that tightened down. And with that, we've pretty much got our Gravitrack upper control arm installed. Shock absorber, spring perch, castle nut is on, cotter pin is in, and last thing you want to do after making sure everything is tight, is take your car to your favorite local alignment shop, get it aligned, and go cruising down the road.